Officially call this meeting to order. We have at least 2 persons from each jurisdiction, so officially we have a quorum. Welcome to the GRTC meeting. As is our custom, we like to go around and introduce ourselves and at least share what jurisdiction you're from or what your job title is. So we'll start at the table, and I do know Councilwoman Johnson was last week, but now official, right? And Terrell Hughes is here in his first official GRTC meeting representing Henrico. But Tyrone Nelson, Henrico County.
Bonnie Ashley, General Counsel.
Terrell Hughes, I'm with Henrico County. So just introduce myself real quick. I'm the Public Works Director for Henrico County.
Mark Smith, Chesterfield.
Nicole Jones, 9th District City Council.
Ellen Robertson, City of Richmond.
Cheryl Adams, CEO.
Jim Engel, Chesterfield County.
Janice Swift, Executive Assistant, GRTC.
Dexter, GRTC Director.
Agent Torres, GRTC Chief of Staff.
John Tazarella, Chief Financial.
So that'd be Joe Dillon.
Yes, sir.
Better be ready. Tony Berry, Director Maintenance, GRTC.
Good morning, Tyrone Moore Clark, City of Richmond. Patricia Robinson, GRTC Assistant Director, Executive.
Brad Guerrero, GRTC, Microtransit Manager.
Morning, Stephanie Murphy, AGM.
Michael Bird, GRTC.
Ken Lynch, Monroe, VA.
Sheree Carrasco, RideFinders.
Kevin Hernandez, Chief Operating Officer.
Tanya Thompson, Director of Procurement, GRTC.
Anthony Carter, Director of Safety and Security.
All right, I think that's everyone. Thank you. Do we have any public comments?
We didn't have any in the
Yeah.
portal. No one seems to be here today.
Everybody here is family, so.
Oh, he did? Okay. He did just receive something, so I guess we gotta read the queens. They just did. But
My name is Mike Burton. I'll be reading comments from today.
Now, when did that one come in?
According to Ashley, it was 2:24 yesterday, I think.
All right, well, just go ahead.
Kelly Lane. I used the Pulse and the number 5. I have a comment about the maps. You wonderfully extended the lanes, but the maps at the bus stop does not reflect the changes. For example, the 1A now goes further into Chesterfield, and it would be great to see the reflection of the maps. I also want to say that the Pulse is just wonderful. I think it could use another stop at Lombardi and Broad, so we could get to Kroger at Lombardi. That would be great. Otherwise, I think it's a wonderful service, and I'm grateful for the updates and the changes to come, especially with the North-South Pulse line coming. Thank you. The second one is from Robert Chandler. It reads, my name is Robert Chandler. I catch the 4A, the 4B, the 7A, and the 7B, 14, the Pulse. I catch the 5 and the 78 and sometimes the 20. This comment is for the people in the office, the managers. Leadership starts at the front. Whatever you dump on your drivers, they give it to us. Don't do that, because some of the drivers, they're really good at what they do. If you irritate them, we're the ones who have to deal with it. So if they're running a route a few minutes early or late, instead of running it, we end up handling the fallout. Additionally, the 4A, the 4B, when they get up to the Farm Fresh supermarket at 23rd and Franklin, they need to wait 10 minutes instead of flying through. They need to wait for the people coming off the Pulse to catch the bus, because we can't get across the main street. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Ms. Adams, can we just pass that on to whatever departments that can look into that? Yep, thank you. All right, consent agenda, your package was sent out a few days ago. Yes, approve the minutes. Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Can we get a motion to approve the minutes?
So, second.
All right, moved in second. All in favor, say aye. All right, now consent agenda. It was just 2 items on there. Onboard communication technology upgrade, vehicle, Motorola radios. Mr. Hurt is here. If we have questions, also conference room technology improvements, also here, Mr. Hurt, if we have questions. Anybody have questions? All right, can we get a motion to accept the consent agenda?
So moved.
All right, moved in second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. All right, operational updates. Mr. Hernandez, so we'll start us off in ridership performance.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I'll be providing the operations performance report for the month of January, starting with transportation and freight route services. So we finished the month of January with 322 operators, which is a gain of 2 from the month prior. And usually in the month of January, we do have a few retirements. So just having a gain of 2 is great momentum for us. We also have 14 trainees currently in the pipeline when we concluded January. Our paratransit care on-time performance was 90%. That's a gain of roughly 5% from the month prior. Our goal is 92%, so we're trying to that goal as well. Coming over to microtransit, we also finished January with 22 operators, which is the same as December. We're happy to report that we had an internal promotion from driver to supervisor. So we would have had a gain, but we had that promotion, so we're at least happy with that. Jumping over to safety and security. So we did have an increase in the number of reported events for the month of January. We had 59 events, and that's just due to the 2 weather events that we had at the beginning of January. Of those 59, less than half of those were actually preventable or at fault. RN, I think only was 28. 28 were actually preventable, so that is due to that.
What does that mean, though? You're putting it on the weather. Give us some examples of what, like a passenger event is jumped up to 26, fixed objects 15. Like, can you give us a couple of examples of what happened that may be weather related?
So, Mr. Chair, basically, when we see passenger incidents, we had a lot of slip and falls. A lot of that was related to the weather itself. People sliding on ice, things of that nature as they were getting on board the bus. Otherwise, lighting from the bus, we had a couple that fell when they were getting off the bus. Fixed objects sliding into type of tree branches. We had a couple of situations where tree branches were hanging because of ice over and so those were a lot of the increases that we had when it comes to the weather with shadow numbers.
So if somebody slip and fell, is this getting on or getting off the bus or at the bus stop or what?
Yeah, actually all of those. We've had situations where at the bus stop, they're coming on the bus and slide, or they're getting off the bus and slide. We consider that as a reportable accident.
And that's not
That's not a
okay. All right. Anyone else have any questions? Okay. Thank you.
We just did minor increase in our paratransit as well, just due to the weather events as well. Microtransit had none. So jumping over to security. So we had one physical event that was reported the Friday right before we launched our public safety officers. This was a altercation between an operator and a passenger that happened at the downtown transfer station, which would have been de-escalated should we have had the public safety officers.
So physical.
Following one, yes.
So they put hands on each other. Wow.
We also had 2 verbal events that were reported. And speaking of our public safety officers, so they did launch the week of February 3rd. Just to give you a snapshot of what we're seeing so far. For the week of between February 3rd and the 13th, we had 12 incidents that were reported by the public safety officers. Of those, 2 were medical emergencies that were remedied by the officers and EMS. 6 were de-escalated by the officers themselves, and only 4 required law enforcement intervention. So just seeing these numbers, we're already seeing early success with having that immediate response, that immediate resource for operators and passengers at the downtown transfer station. We're receiving early feedback from staff and the public that it's been a great resource for them. So we're hoping to see more of these numbers and feedback as we progress.
How many officers do we have in the field?
At this time, we have 3 in the field. We have 2 at the DTS, and we have 1 that's doing sort of a monitor patrol between DTS and headquarters.
Any questions?
And then would you elaborate on the 4 that required law enforcement intervention?
Say that again.
Would he please elaborate on those 4 that required law enforcement intervention?
So those are the situations where the public safety officers aren't able to de-escalate it themselves. So they have to escalate that and call in law enforcement to help them address that situation. Tony, I don't know if you know.
Yeah, basically what we want to do is we want to make sure that we have a presence down there. So in these situations where the PSOs report to these situations, if it's a situation where they feel like it could be escalated to hands-on or physical, anything of that nature, we want police involved. So those situations where they came to the actual events, did their assessment, they felt like this is something that required law enforcement intervention.
Such as?
Unruly passengers, disgruntled passengers. If we have a situation, I think a couple of were situations where PSOs responded to the bus, the person refused to leave the bus. Instead of going hands-on or things of that nature, we wanted to get police involved. And then usually in both of those situations, once the police show up, by the time they get there, the people have already left and flee the scene. So, but we want to make sure that we practice that these PSOs are there to provide a presence and de-escalate first. In a situation that needs to escalate or more resources needed, that's when we call the law enforcement.
PSOs they aren't going hands-on. I mean, in no circumstance, unless somebody does something to them. Right?
Exactly. I mean, this is de-escalation, communication, professionalism. That's what we're preaching here. Okay. That's what we want. We want that presence throughout the service.
And prior to the PSO, we would call the police for all those events. We'll send a supervisor and at the same time call.
So there's 6 less calls to the police department than there would have been in the past.
Yeah, and understand that's what's recorded. I mean, we've seen the difference and we've gotten the feedback from the police. Just them being there is providing a presence from the actual public and the police that they don't have to be involved in a lot of this stuff. The presence of them being there and providing that assistance is showing the resources that we're putting in place to reduce calls to law enforcement, as well as to give an overall security presence to the passengers.
Just one follow-up, not specifically to this, but the previous concern as it relates to people slipping and so forth. And we've got another storm coming in as to whether or not there is a need to be more specific about our bus stops as it relates to preparing and de-icing and those kinds of things that we may need to coordinate better with those locations that you feel like are more subjected to those kind of things.
We have a meeting after this to go over preparedness and make sure that everything is updated when it comes to.
Thank you.
If I may, we also go on snow routes if it gets too bad, so we don't go on the side streets. We mainly stay on the main streets when that occurs. And we also have a contract with a vendor that takes care of our DTS as well as our pulse station. So that's some of the things that we're active with when we know snow events coming.
We have a contract to clear the Who's responsible for the bus stop itself? Is GRTC responsible for that? Is the VDOT or the locality that owns that primarily services that area responsible for it? So whether it's VDOT or the city or Enrico, we need to have that coordination better as well, probably, because that's where I got a feeling it's not being prioritized with the roads having to be done. We got to figure that out.
Got a question from the audience? Yes, sir.
With information like this, I was curious if it could be maps to know like stop locations that are having problems, so we can see kind of visually are the problem areas, because it could be a lack of infrastructure, no sidewalk, or other challenges as well, because that could also be a factor that we're not considering as part of the discussion that could be causing problems too. And that could help us inform what we need to do by jurisdiction, et cetera.
Right on my organization started last month.
Not that smart.
Good question, sir. Do we have like a meteorologist? I mean, who do we get our weather? Who are you guys talking to for like your weather reports?
Tim?
So Tim is,
He's our
he's a resident.
update. Tim, who do you get your information from?
Well, National Weather Service, and I also participate in the city of Richmond's calls that have no that provides up.
So you stick your finger in the air as well?
But I heard from Kerry Rose Pace, so
All right, thanks, sir. Go ahead.
All right, and also just want to give a shout out to our marketing department, specifically Mike, our director of marketing, and Kate, our graphic designer, for their hard work in the campaigns behind the public safety initiatives. These are just some snippets from our press releases and our media pieces that we had a few weeks ago. So.
We released what's the young guy's name that left us? Went to Seattle.
You're in the process
of
that now.
So customer service, our fixed route complaints were down 39%. We only had 25 compared to 41 from last month. Our paratransit also decreased by 52%. We only had 10 compared to 21. And our microtransit only had 1. We had 11 accommodations that were received system-wide. So going to our fleet and facilities maintenance department. So facilities section was very busy in the month of January. They had 82 work orders completed compared to 52 for the month prior. They aided in helping the company passing annual inspections for the fire protection systems in the building, our elevators, and they also worked with 3 different inclement weather events, and they're preparing for this tomorrow. So kudos.
The work orders were up. You think because of the snow event, or?
So, yeah. Probably everybody came back from the holidays. Our preventative maintenance continues. We continue to meet our target 80%. Specifically, we actually met 100% of our schedule on our fixed route buses for our PMs. So great job, Tony and team. We also saw an increase in reliability of our buses. We had an increase in the miles between roll calls or breakdowns, which is indicative of the great work. And we have an important update about new vehicles. So as you guys drove in today, you may have seen some vans parked in the auxiliary lot over there. Those are our replacement care paratransit vans. Those are the first 15 out of 30 that are replacing our caravans. And we have our first articulated bus that rolled out of the Minnesota plant at New Flyer. First few images of our bus that will be coming here on site, hopefully at the end of next month. These are going to be our 9,000 series buses.
I would want to grab it, thank you.
That'll move some people.
So how many people can get on that bus?
Can have standees up to about 75. It's going to be about 50 seated.
All right, questions? Thank you. We need to get back, we need to do a simulator with that. That's right there. Put us in the simulator.
Our new one will have that.
Yeah,
Yes.
right.
I guess I'll join.
I used to eat donuts all the time. So much so that I thought I was doing too many of them at once.
Oh, really?
Then look, I used to do the Listerine brand.
Yeah, but I think there's something better.
Oh, yeah. I used to, I'd be putting 2, 3 of them in my mouth, and then I'd be feel like it'd be sticking to my gum.
Once again, I have the privilege of sharing with you the performance update for the month of January. We will get a chance to talk a little bit about both fixed route and micro-transit performances. Starting with the fixed route. So for the month of January, we had ridership a little bit under 950,000. In comparing this to what we saw in the month of December, this is about a 6% decrease in ridership. Breaking it down by the various types of fixed route, looking at the local, the BRT, and the express. The local saw a ridership decrease of about 5%. The BRT saw a decrease of about 2%, and then the express close to about 14% decrease. So, looking at this, we kind of ask ourselves a couple of questions, mainly two of them. One being, is this a regular trend for the system? And if so, what is going on? So we have to go back to look at 2 years of data and realize that ideally coming out of the holiday days, ridership in January usually goes up. So then there's a question of what is actually going on here. We looked at the data by week for January and realized that the week of January 6th, that was when the city experienced that water crisis. It was also the same time that we had that snow. I kept a lot of people. And then this he parted at VCU. So you had students, you had sports games that were played without stages, and then we also had some of the clinics with locations downtown that were closed down. Then also looking at some of the businesses around, where people were asked not to come to office. And I mean, we can use GRTC here as a major example where people were asked to work from home if they, so that is what we think has contributed to that dip in ridership for the month of January. So our hope is that, going forward, I mean, we've already seen a couple of bad weather periods. So hopefully this changes. And if we see that change, we're likely to see ridership trend normalize one more time. So that is why we're seeing that dip in ridership. Talking about micro transit, as we all know, we have 5 zones currently being operated. This is what the ridership looks like in terms of the total monthly ridership. Azalea, Ashland, Sandstein, also increases in ridership. But Cloverdale saw a dip of about 12%, and Palatine saw a dip of ridership about 4%. Looking at it from an average daily ridership perspective, so this is looking at the total monthly ridership divided by the number of days that the service was in. The service was being operated. You look at Azalea, Sandstein, both zones saw increases in looking at it from an average daily ridership perspective. But Ashland saw about a 4% decrease. Palatine remained the same. Cloverdale also saw a little bit of so that is what the ridership for the microtransit looks like. So overall, looking at the performance of the system for the month of January in comparison to what we saw last in December, the system saw a decrease of about 6%. And like I said, majority of it being on the fixed route, which we are attributing to the water system. So that is pretty much what the ridership performance looks like for the month of January. And that brings me to the end of I'll take any questions if they are available.
Questions, colleagues? Any questions? Yes, ma'am.
Capacity versus ridership. So you ask how many folk could get on this that. Mr. Chair, I know you're going to be the first to do this simulated driving. I'll follow you after you wreck the bus.
Okay.
She's just gonna give you a ride.
So your question is, what is the capacity versus?
Yeah, and then whether or not we have any goals to try to maximize our capacity.
Is that something, Doc, you're working on?
Sorry, I didn't hear the second.
So capacity, and if we should be trying to.
I know we have a service standards that we work with. I don't remember the numbers offhand, but pretty much what we're focused on is continue to advertise to make sure that people continue to patronize these services. One of the things that we are currently focusing on is improving reliability. If we say a bus is supposed to show up at next time, that bus is supposed to be at there on that next time, because that is people plan their daily lives pretty much based on the schedules that we use. So that's one of the things that we're trying to do to make sure that people continue to use the service that we use.
I think her question, and I'm not speaking for the councilwoman, but I do think something that we need to start keeping up with is bus A has 60 seats and bus A has 14 riders on the route. Like, what is our capacity versus ridership? What is that ratio or percentage? And then maybe that will help us with our advertising or focus on increasing riders on particular routes with particular buses and sizes, and I'm sure you.
Sizing the vehicles.
Yeah, I know you do that. I'm sure you probably do that already. So can you start to talk about that when you talk to us?
Sure.
All right.
Comment real quick. And we look at what's called max load, so the highest amount of time. The only buses I would say that have capacity issues would be the whole, especially the VCU area. And in order to alleviate that, that's why we got the 60-foot buses, because we were having issues where we have to pass up passengers as they had, which 60 is basically completely full, beyond capacity, standing room, wouldn't let anyone else on. So without adding operational dollars, adding more vehicles. If we do see capacity issues, you have to add in another bus. But right now, that's the only route.
Do we look at, if we have 60 seats and only 14 people are riding constantly, downsizing to a smaller vehicle to run the route? Because that could be more efficient as well. If you have a vehicle that's smaller than a full-size bus that would always handle that route,
Yeah,
maybe we could downsize and save some money. No? Apparently not.
The highest cost of that factor is the operator.
Okay, the operator's the highest
It doesn't
cost.
really save you much money.
Okay.
And then we have to rotate our vehicles, so that's why you might see a smaller vehicle sometimes, but.
It's a fair answer. I just was trying to see if there was a.
All right, any other questions? All right, thank you, sir. We want to take a break. We had a new board member to join us since we started. Our custom with these general board meetings, at the beginning, we go around and introduce ourselves and say what jurisdiction we're from. I know you were at the finance committee meeting, but I don't think you've been at a general board meeting. So, do you mind just telling the room who you are, where you represent, and maybe what your job is in the locality?
Certainly. Good morning, everybody. My name is Sharon Ebert. I'm a Deputy Chief Administrative Officer with the City of Richmond, and I oversee the portfolio of planning and economic development.
Thank you. Welcome to the great GRTC board.
And my apologies for being late.
No. We appreciate you being here. Thank you. All right. Are you? Oh, yeah, you finished. Thank you, sir. Jim, subcommittee report for finance.
So we met last week, and we went over the December financials. Everything looked to be in order. I think John's going to go over those as well. And then we got first high-level look at some budget assumptions, and I'm not sure if John's going to go over all of that this morning, but it's a work in progress, and we're definitely keeping an eye on how that's progressing.
I'm going to talk off of slide 37, which is just the financial highlights. As Jim said, we went through this at the Finance Committee meeting in a little more depth, but a lot of the comments are kind of consistent with the previous 5 months. So this is the 6 months ending December 31st, 2024. So revenues are slightly unfavorable to budget, about $470,000 on a budget of just about $47 million. Primarily, it's unfavorable state funds, which is due to the timing of grant-funded projects, and we see the same reciprocal being favorable in expenses. This is just to the timing of grant-funded, both capital and operating grant-funded projects versus what we calendarized in the budget. And there's slightly, in addition to slightly unfavorable directly generated funds, about $16,000. This is due to unfavorable advertising revenues that is offset by almost primarily by the favorable interest income. We have favorable federal funds, about $1.2 million, and this is due to the use of ARPA funds for qualifying expenses. And this is offsetting the unfavorable local share match of about $284,000 that we gave, the TRIP grant that's in the local for about $520,000. So a lot of things that are moving in, up and down in here, but all in all, the last couple of months, we've been oscillating between slightly favorable to slightly unfavorable on the revenue line. no concerns at this point. Focusing on the operating expenses, it's $2.5 million favorable versus budget. This is primarily being driven in favorable services, $3.2 million. This is the timing of grant funded projects versus timeline. So we see the unfavorable revenue, but we also see the favorable expenses. So net impact on operating position is zero. We still see a favorable labor variance, about $430,000. That's primarily in the general administrative. As Kevin shared, we're ramping up on operators. So we have trainees in the budget that are being funded by ARPA, approximately about $330,000. In addition to some of the other unfavorable items, insurance premium expense about $624,000 unfavorable. Not really concerned about that. We put the provision for unfavorable uninsured motorists in November. The calendarization fully effect that will give back about $350,000. And purchase transportation is about $577,000 unfavorable. And that's due to higher demand on the care and care plus programs that we've been seeing the first 5 months of this year. And it's an item we're taking care of in the fiscal 26 budget proposal. All in all, through the 6 months, we have a operating surplus currently about $4.3 million, and we have a pretty strong balance sheet and cash position. So that's kind of, it's very much similar to the previous 5 months, but if anyone has any questions on the other slides that are in the board packet, there's questions at this time.
All right, so we had a finance committee meeting that was at least an hour and some change, I feel like. So that was a 5-minute version of that 1 hour meeting. A lot of different questions from the committee during that time. So still working through the budget, what the budget will become, etc. So, all right, questions?
The main highlights of the budget discussion was in last January's board meeting, we talked about the impact of CPIU. We shared it was 1.7 from February 24 through December 24. Most of you are aware is that the CPIU came in hot for the month of January, so that number takes the increase from February to January up to 2.37. We're halfway through February. We really haven't seen any remediation in the culprits that caused the December to January, which was basically poultry and eggs, which everybody knows that, everybody on the news, and the price of oil is still on. So conceivably, February to February will probably end around 3%, is what we talk about. Used to be conservative as the CPIU adjustment for operating contributions. In addition, we talked about the expense level we had relative to the current revenues that we have, and obviously it's the chair and vice chair going back and scrubbing to look at our very good position. Our plan as we usually is to circulate the budget book and the final slides to all the members of the board from the April meeting, and utilize the May Finance Committee meeting as a budget workshop for all members of the board. Come to that. That's usually the second Thursday in the month of May, and that way we'll have all questions addressed prior to the May board meeting so that we can go through the adoption process. That's where we are at this point. Still have some work to do. As the update from the last board meeting, the GRTC fiscal 26 applications were submitted. We will have clarity on those by the middle of April, and we'll incorporate that in the budget drafts, as well as we'll have clarity as to the 307 orders from the FDA. As the timeline goes towards April, we'll get more perfect information. Staff and management are working to correlate the revenues and expenses.
All right, thank you. All right, I think that brings us to CEO report.
Good morning again.
Good morning.
I unfortunately have to start my report off on a sad note. We had one of our current supervisors pass away last Wednesday, Mr. John King. John had been with us a little over 3 years, but prior to he came to us from HRT, Hampton Roads Transit. He also worked at MON in Atlanta. So if you would please keep the King family in your administrators as well as the GRTC. I would appreciate that. And the only other thing, different note, is our Employee of the Month. We have a couple of them here with us today. We actually have Miss Kate Sheldon. Kate's in the back there. Kate works in our marketing department. She's a designer.
What?
And she's been doing a tremendous job making all of our stuff pretty. So we appreciate Kate. Congratulations. And he's over. And the other Employee of the Month that's with us is Jiraiya, and I'm not even gonna try to pronounce your last name because I didn't have it right. Jiraiya is our microtransit manager, and he has been with us prior to getting microtransit off the ground, and he's done a tremendous job with making that a success. We appreciate all that you do. And normally we had 3 Employees of the Month, but this month we had 4. It's a hard decision. So the other one is Stephen Bayham. He is a part-time transportation supervisor. And then Marcel Fontaine is in our maintenance department. So we want to congratulate all of them on the good job that they do here to help keep GRTC moving in the right direction. So thank you.
All right, thank you, ma'am. All right, so I have 2 under the board chair report. And for Barb, Ellen, Jim, me, Dan, and Dave Madison. Those CEO pieces that I gave y'all last month, we need to get it back as soon as y'all can. Fill it out, get it back so that we can accumulate the information. So that we can move to the next step, because we still got to talk to Cheryl, put it all together and all this stuff, and we don't want to carry over her evaluation much and make it last for 6 months. So let's get that, and Joe, I'll follow up, and so that we can get that taken care of. All right, we have 2 of our friends who have served with us, but have transitioned on. What should I do first? Jim, you pick.
A and A has to go.
All right, let's go A and A first. Resolution in appreciation for outstanding public service by Andreas D. Addison. Resolution of gratitude to Andreas D. Addison for services rendered as board member of GRTC. Whereas Andreas D. Addison has faithfully served as a representative of the city of Richmond on GRTC board since 2022, demonstrating steadfast commitment to providing safe, efficient, sustainable, and equitable public transportation for all. Whereas Addison served as vice chair of the GRTC board from 22 to 24, providing steady leadership and strategic guidance during a pivotal period of growth and transformation for the agency, which is very true. Thank you. Whereas during his tenure, GRTC expanded its micro transit link services to North Richmond, implemented zero fare treatment policies, transit policies to ensure equitable access for all riders, and strengthen labor support to enhance service reliability and workforce stability. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the GRTC Board of Directors extends its sincere gratitude to Andreas D. Addison for his exemplary service, visionary leadership, dedication to improving public transportation in the Greater Richmond region. Be it further resolved that the chairman of the board present this resolution to Mr. Addison as a token of the board's appreciation, with this resolution duly adopted on February 18th. Signed by myself, Sher Adams, CEO. And this is on behalf of the board. It's a nice frame, hang this Jim, so that everybody that you were a part of a very pivotal time in the growth and transformation. And the word equitable is here. All right, I don't care what they say outside of here. We use that word here, and you were really a part of reshaping what regional transportation looks like. So congratulations, my friend. say a few words. Since you woke up early, this is the last time, unless you get reappointed, that you will have to come to an 8 o'clock GRTC.
Well, this is a great honor, and it's been a great honor and privilege working with this board. I will say from the start, our first couple of meetings we had a tough task. We had to find the new CEO of GRTC. Yep. And I'm proud of our decision, because I think when you see the team that's presented all these meetings over the last almost 2 years, it has shown of the strength of this organization, our ability to, I think, really provide a strong leader to make sure we're delivering equitable transit and the future of that for the region. And I think that starts here. I will say I'm proud of the fact that we have an elected official board that's making up of the region leadership. When people think we don't work together, this is proof we do. And we do in, I think, substantial and meaningful ways that I don't think enough people pay attention to. So if I could give you all one thing to do, is brag more. Be proud of the work we're doing, the investments we're making, the changes we're bringing to our community, access to jobs, careers, education, events. I don't think enough people know the work that this body does, and I think it's important that we share it and celebrate it. Thank you all.
Second one, resolution and appreciation for outstanding public service by Eldon Todd Ewer. Now, the first time I knew, I just found out that Todd's first name was Eldon. And so we went to a board meeting, I was like, who? Resolution of gratitude for service as a member of the GRTC Board of Directors, whereas Eldon Todd Ewer served as a dedicated member of the GRTC Board of Directors since April 22, 2022, representing Henrico County as one of its inaugural appointees and playing a key role in shaping regional public transportation policy. Whereas during his tenure, Ewer was instrumental in securing federal funding to expand passenger amenities and enhance fixed route services, further improving the overall rider experience and accessibility across the region. Whereas under his leadership, Henrico County collaborated with GRTC to implement multiple microtransit zones and successfully expand Route 1A service connecting the region beyond the new Henrico Sports and Event Center to Ashland, Virginia, fostering greater regional connectivity. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the GRTC Board of Directors expresses its deep appreciation to Eldon Todd Ewer for his outstanding service, leadership, and commitment to advancing public transportation in Henrico County and beyond. Be it further resolved that the chair of the board present this resolution to Mr. Ewer as a token of the board's gratitude and recognition. With this resolution duly adopted on February 18th, signed by myself and Ms. Cheryl Adams. And we present this to Mr. Todd Ewer, who has retired as an employee of Henrico County.
Congratulations.
We miss him on the board, but we definitely miss him in Henrico. Todd was our transportation guru and handled all things transportation, not just with GRTC, but with transportation across our county and our region. And Terrell, I'm sure, misses him already, and his team miss Todd. And so I really don't want to give you this because I'm still sad that you left us, but we appreciate you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I'll reiterate a lot of what Addison said. It's an honor and a privilege to serve on this board. Prior to the board, I worked with GRTC at a staff level going back to 2003. So I've been through 5 CEOs. But you have a good one now. I will say I don't miss the commute down I-95 to get here. But I do miss working with the board, all the staff members, GRTC team. I apologize to Terrell for putting another thing on his plate for now having to serve on this board temporarily. But yeah, I've seen a lot of growth in GRTC since I started working with you guys 22 years ago. It's all been positive.
All right, I think that is it for me. Is there any other business from board members? All right, hearing none, meeting adjourned.
the three